أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khair. Today's event is organized in collaboration between Tarbiyah Department of Rifa International University and Center for Peace and Global Studies. CGPS General Secretary Dr. Shahid Rafi Sahab is present in our audience. May I take this opportunity to request him to say a few words about the center. Dr. Shahid Rafi Sahab.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wahdah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dah. Amma ba'd. Respected participants, BOT members of Center for Peace and Global Studies, faculty members of Rifa Universities and students, General Secretary, Center for Peace and Global Studies. Dr. Shahid Rafi has ordered me to come and introduce the center on behalf of CPGS. So Center for Peace and Global Studies is a non-for-profit academic institution. We were registered in 2018 and we engage in different training and research activities in Pakistan and the region. In the region that we operate, we have countries like Afghanistan, Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. We have partner organizations in India. Its name is Institute of Objective Studies. And we have another partner in Bangladesh. Its name is Bangladesh Institute of International Thought, BIIT. We are also affiliated with the International Institute of Islamic Thought, headquartered in USA, and it has its regional units in Southeast Asia. So we are working in collaboration with all these partners in different activities. So Center for Peace and Global Studies is one of the institution engaged in Islamization of knowledge. So our major area of concern is Islamization of knowledge, or you may say integration of knowledge, or sometimes we use the term Islamic integration of knowledge. So this is our main activity, and we encourage researchers, we encourage faculty members to focus on Islamization of their disciplines, mainly focusing on social sciences. So we engage, we partner with different universities. Today we are here with holding this program in collaboration with Rifa International University. We are planning to hold such activities throughout Pakistan, inshallah. So in this regard, support from all of you is very important. Your suggestions, your proposals, which can help us achieve the target of Islamization of knowledge and production of textbooks related to different disciplines. So we also have opportunities for sponsoring different activities. The scholars, faculty members, students, different departments of universities, they can approach us, they can submit their proposals, and we can work together. We can manage to fund those projects, which may include holding different conferences, seminars, workshops, and production of literature. It may also include scholarships and visits to other institutions inside Pakistan and abroad. So we are open for all these, and we invite proposals from all our colleagues, students, faculty members, so that we can work for the Islamic integration of knowledge. So this is a little bit of our introduction. This activity is our normal routine activity. We hold a monthly online lecture every Saturday, every last Saturday of each month. So this is today, it's last Saturday of this month. So this program was already planned, but is our worthy guest, Omar Hassan Kasule, who is Secretary General of International Institute of Islamic Thought of USA. He was in Pakistan, so we requested him, and we arranged this program here physically so that all of us can have a chance to meet him. So our next program, it will be next Saturday. I think it is on 24th of December or something like that. I also want to announce that tomorrow we are starting another program in collaboration with another institution, International Institute of Islamic Learning. That is a 15-week course on an introduction to world religions. So tomorrow we will have our first session, and Professor Anis Ahmad, who will be here shortly, he will be the first speaker, inshallah, who will introduce and he will deliver his talk on what is a religion. So we will have this activity for the next 15 weeks, and inshallah the program will conclude in February 2023. So these are some of our few points that I can put in front of you to introduce Center for Peace and Global Studies. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah, thank you very much for your patience. Alhamdulillah, our guest speaker is here, and we'll start shortly. But before we start the lecture of Professor Omar Hassan Kasule, I would request Vice Chancellor Rifa International University, Professor Dr. Anis Ahmed, to say a few welcoming remarks.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala khatim al-anbiya. While welcoming our distinguished guest, Professor Dr. Omar Kasule. I first begin with apologies for being late. We were from around 8:30 a.m. in a program in Convention Center where they had their biannual conference of medical association. And he was and myself both were on the stage, so we could not leave unless the panel was over. So very, very sorry for this delay you had to wait. I have known Professor Kasule for several decades, not just years. He is a graduate of Harvard University. He got his medical degree and then his master's and PhD in medical education from Harvard. And all his life he has been involved with leadership training programs, youth camps, and so on and so forth. A very youthful person himself. So, and that's our meeting point. I was also involved in same kind of activities besides my academic career. So we knew each other for several, I think about 35, 40 years at least. So I can say with all fairness that he is one of the few experts in medical education as well as in the field of Islamization of knowledge. We began that journey in 1970s in America and established organizations for medical doctors, social scientists, which addressed the basic issue of paradigm shift in those disciplines. And Dr. Omar, in that respect, has great contribution. I'll not take much time. I think he is ready to deliver his lecture. For you have been waiting. What I will request to all of you is, it's not going to be a one-way sermon. It's going to be a provocative talk, and that requires your responses and your very sharp questions. So do not wait. Get your questions ready. If you think you can have some patience, write it down. If you think, no, it's very pressing, just raise your voice. In this way, we can have better discussion, inshallah. Dr. Omar, please.
Yeah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Professor Anis, Jazakumullah khair. And sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. This afternoon now, huh? Sorry, after midday. Yeah, sorry we have been late because of some other program. But inshallah we shall have a good time together. Now, okay, this technology is a challenge. I will start until they solve the technology. Long time ago we didn't have the technology and we are performing very well. Now, why are we here? There are two main reasons. I don't know which one is more important, but let me start with one. Oh, can I show the slides now? If I open the file? Okay. One is integration of knowledge or Islamization of knowledge. As you know, we have got a religion, we've got a history, we've got a culture, we've got a civilization. We have got our own view of knowledge, philosophy of knowledge. We have got our own epistemology. It means when we do research and when we do teach, we have got our own approach. It cannot be some other people's approach. So that's what we call Islamization or integration. So when we make a university in Pakistan, teaching Pakistani people, Muslims, it must reflect their Islamic background in the disciplines that we teach. Because many of the disciplines we teach, most of them are pure science and research, but also they are philosophies of other people. Let's take in English literature, you know Romeo and Juliet? I studied in school. And all I knew is that there was a boy and a girl, and they ran away, and the parents didn't like, tragedy, and they died. My teacher never mentioned anything that there is something haram. No, it's irrelevant. A Muslim teacher will still teach Romeo and Juliet, but will point out the moral part of it. The other one, the moral part of it is not important. They don't mention it. So in a way, you are passing on to your students passively without mentioning that, this is okay. Romeo and Juliet did it, also you can do the same thing. So there are many things like this in all the disciplines of knowledge, which reflect not only the empirical research, but they reflect the philosophy and culture of the people whose books we use. So really, as Muslims, we need to Islamize or integrate Islamic values in the various disciplines of knowledge. Now, that brings me to the second objective, and I will stop so that we can make sure everybody is on the same wavelength. The second objective is that we need to write our own teaching materials. At the moment, we teach using textbooks we import from overseas. We teach also some in Urdu, but we just translate. Okay, so we need really to write our own books. Several reasons why we need to write our own books. One, it's self-assertion, self-confidence. We can do it. If the American or British can write a textbook that used to teach physics, why can't you write it? What makes it worse is that at university, you studied in London, you were better than him. You come back here, he writes a book, you import it and use it to teach. Why don't you write this book yourself? So the first reason is this self-assertion, self-confidence, self-reliance. That is one. The second reason, if we have the challenge to write the book to be used for teaching, it automatically improves the quality. It automatically and dramatically. Automatically and dramatically. Oh, great. Oh, no, this is not the one. It's a different one. I'll close this one. I will open the right one.
Oh, I have to send it from there. This is the one that you showed.
Okay. Though I think we forgot about this. Okay. Let me just talk. The second reason, and I will stop so that we can have the discussion. The first one I said is Islamization. Second is we write our own teaching material. I gave the reason, the issue about our self-confidence, self-reliance, self-assertion. Why can't we do it? The second is about the quality of the teaching. See, I am a lecturer, you're also lecturers. You know this very well. You prepare the first lecture last year. This year you look for the same papers. Maybe you look at them for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, go and teach the same. You see? Take it easy. Teaching without preparation. Now, if we are teaching using materials that we ourselves wrote, if you write that book, if you write that chapter in the book for today's lesson, you wrote it. You have to see what are the learning objectives, what are the learning outcomes, what are the sources, what are the elements that are to be there, what are the exercises at the end. Really, you go through this process as much as you find in the imported textbooks. So, if we write our own books, we will ensure quality. And our students will be reading something that we have prepared and we teach, but with quality. Now, the third reason has to do with understanding the student. There is a difference between learning objectives and learning outcomes. Learning objectives is what the lecturer wants. I have got a lesson. This is what I want them to know. But what they learn, the outcomes, also depends on them. Because you may say a lot of things, some things go through, some things go above their head. They don't internalize it. So to think about learning outcomes, we need also to prepare teaching material, taking into consideration the emotions, the culture, the background of our students. So this aspect, a foreigner cannot understand. If you're writing something for a Pakistani, you know how a Pakistani thinks. You know where to start and how to go. There are certain things that we can't even describe, but you automatically know them. So learning outcomes will become better if we write for students we know. We even know how they learn. You see? If I'm teaching medicine for students who have Hufadh al-Quran, because this happens, I know that the whole class are Hufadh al-Quran. So when I teach medicine, I speak little and go away. I don't need to repeat because I know when I spoke, they learned it. If it's a different type of people, because anatomy in medicine has to do with memorization. Simple. It's not understanding. You need to memorize. If you teach Hufadh al-Quran, you say very little and go away. If you teach other students who don't memorize, you have to take more time and repeat until they can memorize it. So this is what I say. To ensure learning outcomes, you need to know for whom you are writing. Only you people know this. Only you people know this. Only you people understand the student you are talking about. So I will stop here. I mentioned two things. I talked about Islamization or integration of Islam into the disciplines, which only you can do. The American author cannot do that for you. The second one is about the quality of teaching. And I gave several reasons why, if we write our own books, we'll improve the quality of the teaching and the outcomes. So I'll stop a little bit, then we'll continue, inshallah. You want me to bring you to show you? Okay. A few minutes. Okay. Any question, clarification? Yes. Yes, you are absolutely right. We should write our own literature books. Yes. In the US, I was leading a project in which we were writing storybooks for children. Because the storybooks that they were reading in school gave them different moral values, like Romeo and Juliet. Okay? So, yeah. Now, so this is a reason we should write our own books. Okay, this one I'll be showing. So, you are absolutely right. But we sometimes have to teach criticism of literary English because they still read those books. They still see movies based on those books. So we may have a course on literary criticism from an Islamic perspective. So you need to point out these things. Yeah. But it is best that, especially in the younger ages, do they learn literature from other people's books? We write ourselves. I have an anecdote. I got it from Professor Bakar. He's Mombasa, Tanzania. He's an English literature professor. He told me, but I haven't read this anywhere. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. He told me that when the British came to India, when the British came to India, what was India at that time, India has a higher GDP than Britain. It was a stronger economy. Okay? And maybe even in terms of literacy, it had more educated people, but in our own system than in Britain. Now, the British had commercial interests. They had their cloth from Manchester. How do you sell this cloth in India? How do you sell your products in India? If it comes to pottery and plates and cooking utensils, the Indians were making superior things to what they were making. So how do we make the Indian buy our things? Because they will not buy. The Indian woman had her sari. Why should she buy the poor cotton from Manchester? She had her own cosmetics. So, in order to break into this market, you need to change the mind. How do you change the mind? You cannot preach to them. You cannot order them. English literature, according to Prof. Bakar, was actually invented in India. This subject did not exist in Britain. It was invented here to teach English literature to the elite. Because as you read those novels, you actually go into English homes. You see how they live, how they dress, how they eat. And the Anglophile thing develops. You start admiring them, loving them, trying to be like them. Now, even after many years of independence, still we look up to them. So the purpose of this literature was to achieve that change. So why don't you write your own books that will achieve the change of your students to feel like they are Muslims, they are Pakistani, they have got a great religion and a great civilization. Yeah. Okay? Another, yes.
Well, I don't know if I'm audible to everyone. Can I have a mic?
Oh, these IT people are experts. They have managed to sort this out.
I am Dr. Omar,
Yes.
Department of Social Services and Engagement.
Yes. Yes.
My question to you is Islamizing English is a desire of many to achieve, but it's something requires time, perhaps centuries, to achieve this, and to make a language or to change the religion of a language takes a lot of time. So what do you suggest? What are best ways to achieve this goal?
Okay.
Because language changing is
Jazakallah khair. It's a long process, but it's a very important process. And I hope I will not be accused of going into politics, but maybe it will stay here. In the past 10 years, I've been going to Eastern Europe to give lectures, and Russia also. I didn't go, but over Zoom. Before, we had translators from English or Arabic into Ukrainian or into Russian. In the recent years, no need. They all understand English. In Hungary, in the Ukraine, in Bosnia, Macedonia, they all understand English. And they speak very well with an American accent. So it's something that struck me. As I was watching, a whole new culture developed in those countries. They changed. And with the language, they like to be American. They enjoy everything American. You know, you can see they are changing. When they talk to you, you can feel they are thinking in a different way. Fine. Then you have this war in the Ukraine. You may not believe my analysis, but part of it is this. This Putin and his people realize that the carpet has been pulled from underneath them. Their youth now look to the other civilization because of language. So this is the importance of language. But it takes time. If we are going to have Islamic English, it will take time. Dr. Ismail Farouqi wrote a book called Islamic English, and I wish you could look it up and see. It's a beginning. He said, look, we need to change this language and put in our words and our ideas, because it's an international language. Islamic English, Islamizing English. But it takes time. This is what I say. We need to have the long-term view. But the long-term view starts with teaching materials. You need to write and start teaching. One generation, next generation, third generation. Eventually, it spreads. It's not something that you can get in a day. It takes time. But the beginning, you must have a teacher and what he uses in teaching. And that's what we are asking you to do. And not only English, also psychology and sociology and all other disciplines.
One small thing. Professor, do you think there is a religion of a language? Like language is a Christian, or language is Muslim, or it is Hindu, or it is Jews? Because language is neutral.
Yeah. Language is a medium. Language is a medium. But it's a medium that carries ideas. It carries ideas, it carries culture. So, the question is, what ideas does it carry? What culture does it carry? If you don't write novels, if you don't write textbooks, that language will carry other ideas. If you want it to carry your ideas, you have to write, because others will not write it for you. Yeah. So we cannot say that the religion of this language is this. No. But the language carries and conveys ideas. But as long as we do not write, as long as we are consumers and not producers of words and literature, our worldview will not be conveyed. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm Dr. Shrimali from the Department of English.
Yes.
Sir, my question is, when you are talking about the writing of Islamic books in accordance to the Islamic values, sir, there is two elements. One is the domestication and second is the foreignization. So how can you treat these two elements while writing down the books? Because sometimes we do not have a suitable words for some special things. We do not have a suitable words.
Yeah, Jazakallah. This is a very important question. It's a very practical question. Actually, you are thinking higher than me. my thinking is much lower. If I am teaching physics or psychology, I want to write a book according to a course outline. I will use the exact course outline that is used in all Pakistani universities, maybe used in England, because there is a lot of knowledge already based on research. This empirical knowledge, it's good knowledge, it's not false. So what do I need to do? I need to add in the Islamic input. So I don't want you to take away the facts in the books as they exist today. No. It's just value addition. We need to add on our values. Now, if there is something in that book that conflicts with our values, again, we don't remove it, but we give the Islamic explanation so the student doesn't get confused. So I am not about changing books and writing something only for Muslims. No. It's the same book, but add in your values, because the students must have the knowledge that everybody in the world has. You cannot isolate them, but give them the Islamic values. And if there are values that do not agree with the Islamic perspective, you explain. You don't even remove them. Please don't cross out things. You leave them there and give the Islamic explanation beside it. And this is a Quranic way. You know Pharaoh is one of the worst people on earth. Pharaoh said, Ana Rabbukumul A'la. He said he's the highest God. He wanted his minister Haman to build a very high tower so he can go and see, who is this God? Let me go and see who he is up there. Very arrogant. But the words of Fir'aun against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are in the Quran. Direct speech. Ana rabbukumul a'la. The Quran did not distort his words, did not remove them. It kept them there. And as you make salah, you repeat the words that Fir'aun said. So this is Islamic culture. We can have these different views, but then we answer them. That's what the Quran does. It will say Fir'aun said this, and it will answer Fir'aun. So, in all your disciplines, we are not talking about getting a book and crossing out this, and that. No. Put in Islamic values, and where the values contradict Islam, leave that and put the Islamic one. So the student has got a broad view. If you teach him only the Islamic one, the next day he will meet a student from another university. He cannot discuss with him. He will feel lost. So what I'm talking about is actually simpler than what you are thinking.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
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 My introduction and the method which you are telling by the professor, that is really fantastic. And I put my own example here. Because if we want to Islamize the teaching methodology, the textbooks, etc., first of all, the responsibility comes to us, being a teachers. We should have the knowledge of our religion. We must know our culture. And while teaching literature, even if it is English literature, we can cross-refer. We can, as you are suggesting. And I'll quote my example. I was teaching in Karachi, Aligarh College here, that is academy over there. I was teaching English literature to pre-medical and pre-engineering students. I started teaching, and after 4 months, there was an application against me by some students. They claimed that we feel perhaps we are being taught Islamic studies, not English literature. Yes, but I addressed that application as well, because sometimes we have some students who maybe don't like that version of your teaching. So first of all, we should have knowledge of our religion. Unfortunately, maybe we don't have. Then how can we correlate? There is no harm, as you are suggesting, in teaching English literature. We can't produce new books which can replace Shakespeare. We can't produce new poetry which can replace Chaucer. But while teaching the same literature, we can refer to our religion, and we must refer it so that our students, they should get both the versions, and they should not be influenced by something which we consider wrong. So thank you very much.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. This is a very good observation. Of course, some students may not like, but you don't even need to mention Islam if this is a situation. Of course, in Rifa University, Islamic University, you don't have a problem. Somewhere else, you don't want to say Islam. Why should you say? You just say that Romeo and Juliet did something wrong, to disobey their parents and run away. It's a universal value. The Hindu accepts that, the Jew accepts that. So, one of our problems is Islamic labeling. We label everything Islamic. You know, you play football, call it Islamic football. Just say football, good football. Business, call it Islamic. Is no, do call it honest business. So labeling is a problem. The second item you raised is knowledge of your religion. This also, we can question it, because every adult Muslim knows enough about his religion. Al-ma'lum min ad-din bil-darura. All of you know enough about the religion, whether you like it or not. You may not go to the dars in the masjid, but you attend weddings. There is some preaching at a wedding. They talk about Islam. So, you have the basic knowledge of Islam. But to polish it up, maybe Maulana and some others can give you short courses on methodologic disciplines in Islam. Islam has got disciplines of methodology, how to think, how to analyze things Islamically. And these are well-developed disciplines. There is Usul al-Fiqh, there is Tafsir al-Quran and Ulum al-Hadith. These three, just a few basics, because our analytic mind is different from the Western one. But a good teacher can distill the details of this methodology in a course for you that may be of 15, 20 hours. So you get an idea of our methodology of analyzing facts. So that can be solved. But the biggest bonus is if you go on the internet, just put in sociology Islam, psychology Islam, medicine Islam, you will get a lot. So actually the Ummah is writing on these things. There's a lot written already. So you're not starting from zero. And I plan to show you some of the books that people have done in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Uganda, in Bangladesh, in Yemen. I'll show you some of them just to convince you that the Ummah is already moving. People are writing books. So when you start, you'll have many references to refer to. And it's available on the internet. Yeah.
You have a question, please?
I would like to add something to your topic. It's a very relevant topic, especially about in this current situation. We are very fond of Islamizing everything, like we Islamize sometimes roads, the names of the roads, even buildings, and so. And let me tell you, because we are in a situation where the school and college level books are prescribed by the textbook board, so we are halfway through it. So 2-3 chapters are all the time, even in language book and even in science book, 2-3 chapters are already on Islamic topics. And if there are anthologies from other literatures, then we provide substitute for example, if there is a mentioning vodka or something, so they just replace the word with something halal. Or even in this William Golding's novel, Lord of the Flies, where the pig was mentioned, they have written war there, or war to be so. But what happened to us in the past, in order to prepare people for the Afghan jihad, our big books were so much Islamized that it had a very negative effect on the society as well. So there's another angle to it as well, that we have to give a world view of to the children, to those children or to those institutions which were used for the extremist thinking, like in the past. So University of Nebraska had developed some material and some curriculum for the students of this area, where everything was so much Islamized, and these extremist topics were introduced intentionally, that now we have to do some studies about that as well, that how much or what kind of, what version or what type level of knowledge we are supposed to include in that. Like in the 80s and 90s, the whole generation was taught such material, which is now criticized worldwide as extremist. So it is an angle related to this, that in order to Islamize our books, we have to even try to control that damage as well that have already been done.
Yeah, Allah Jazil Khair. Yeah, I understand that issue. In Islam, there are two sources of knowledge. Ilm naqli. Ilm naqli means transmitted knowledge from Quran and Sunnah. And ilm aqli is the human knowledge based on observation and experimentation. Now, most of the knowledge is ilm aqli. Most of the knowledge we deal with is human knowledge. Ilm naqli is of higher quality, but is limited. The Quran has only 6,000 verses. It's high quality, but not quantity. So the problem is, when people look for science, for medicine, for these things from the wrong source, that's when they get wrong. Okay? You need to know what you can get from this source and what you can get from this source. So in the past, we had extremists because people just read things literally. They don't try to understand. You cannot understand ilm naqli alone. You need to look at it also from ilm aqli. Get a balance. So the extremes are not blamed on Islam. They are blamed on people who didn't have the patience to understand the sources of knowledge and how to use them in a balanced way. But alhamdulillah, most of these things now we have overcome them. I have written a thesis that extremism is an epistemological problem. It has to do with the philosophy of knowledge. It's failure to understand how to use the two sources of knowledge to solve actual problems. So someone will read only one sentence and go and fight with somebody because he cannot use both sources of knowledge to solve problems. If you can use both sources very well, there will be no extremism in our society. But that's a weakness we have. Yeah. Maybe Maulana will pick. Whom do we pick? Sebran.
I think it was earlier.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Sir, I would rather further rephrase it. Okay, you are talking about the logical positivism. Because when we talk about the logical positivism, then two things again arise, right? Those two things are analytical knowledge, which you call ilm akli, and then there is the synthetic knowledge, which you call ilm naqli, synthetic knowledge. So it's mean that we cannot defy this fact that the essentialism is there, and essentialism teaches us the important aspects of the knowledge, such as the reading, writing, to inculcate the Islamic values in it. Do you mean in this way?
Can we have an order? He was earlier, he raised a question earlier.
Okay,
already.
sir, I'm sorry for that.
Please pass on to him.
Okay.
So my question is that can't we go to the pragmatics of the things that we read? For example, there's a poet, very famous poet, I won't mention his name. He had said that "Sharabe khan pe class aati hai," right? So if the teacher starts saying that sharab is, you can say, or alcohol is, you can say, haram, and don't do this and do that, rather than going into the detail of what it actually is, and all that, I think so that maybe you would agree to me on that we should teach this basic sense and Islam to a greater detail right from the beginning. Okay? And as happens in some of the schools in Japan, that they teach, you can say, morality right till 4th grade. And there is no other subject. They are teaching just morality, how to do things, how to behave, and other things. But that becomes, you can say, a part of them. And later on, those students, they are able to, you can say, translate the things according to their own mindset. So rather than we guiding them and teaching them with the stick on every single detail that this is this and this is that, why don't they have a sense of pragmatics that we teach them right from the early on, and they translate that according to their own set of minds?
Okay, I agree with you. But let us not engage in philosophy. Let us do something. If you are teaching a subject in this university, there is a course outline. Look at it. See what are the basic concepts and paradigms. Do they agree with the Islamic worldview? Okay. Go ahead and teach as is. If one doesn't agree, see how to improve it without throwing it out. Remember, you need to be able to give the Islamic view alongside it, because if you throw it out, they will learn it from somewhere else. They need to hear it from you and you say what Islam is going to talk about it. So let us be pragmatic. All the ideas that we may have, we are discussing here, let us start writing. Because when you start writing, then you solve the problems. And writing doesn't mean you sit in your room and write. It must be a process. The university will say, okay, we are going to write this and this book. We set up committees of reviewers to look at your outline, to look at your references. And as you write each unit, it goes to these reviewers to review and give you input. So all the questions that we have, we can solve them when we start practicing. But what I tell you, it's actually simpler than what you think. And I'll show you some books already that we have done in other countries. Yeah, because most of human knowledge today is through human observation or experimentation. So most of the facts are facts. Islam is not against facts. This ilm aqli. It's only a few things here and there that do not agree with the Tawhidi values. And that's the ones that we have to deal with as we talk about integration of Islamic values. So how to do it? Let us start, and as we work out these issues. Now.
I saw a hand somewhere here.
So as far as the topic Islamization of knowledge and textbook, so as an outsider, I don't belong to a Muslim family, if I'm not a Muslim. So this word Islamization would somehow, I would see it as something offensive. Because Islamization of knowledge, if somebody is saying Christianization of knowledge, so that would be offensive to me. Christianization of knowledge, Islamization of knowledge. So here my question is that are non-people provoking the people of other religions to religionize the knowledge? The one aspect of literature is that arts for life's sake, but other aspect is arts for art's sake. The aesthetics which I'm talking about. So it's not something provocation for the people of other religions as well, so that they go with religion. So by the end of the day, we are all there with religion. So there is nothing to arts. So that's it.
You're absolutely right. The word Islamization is provocative, but we don't want to engage in semantics. That's why we use the word integration. Integration of values. And integration now is the main epistemological occupation of the Westerners. They talk about interdisciplinary integration, interdisciplinary integration, and they talk about, what's the other type? Transdisciplinary integration, because they have realized that knowledge is being presented in just like that one way, without considering other elements. These other elements that are not considered is where culture and religion comes in. So they themselves now are doing a lot of integration. If you put the word integration in the internet, you will find 5 articles from Muslims, you'll find 30 from Americans, because they have realized that ilm aqli alone doesn't explain everything. There are other facts, there are other interesting things outside this discipline that are important. That's where we agree with them. We say, yes, we know. There is ilm naqli, there are certain other values that you need to put into psychology to understand the behavior of people. So forget the word Islamization, call it integration. In fact, we no longer use the word Islamization, we use the word integration. Yeah.
We have had some questions. Let us give Professor Omar Kasule to have his presentation, and then he'll come back.
Okay. So, Bismillah. I'm going to go through the presentation, but I have already mentioned most of it.
We'll pray afterwards, inshallah, once we finish our session.
The concept of integration of knowledge, it does not mean throwing out present knowledge and bringing new knowledge. No. It's not revolutionary, it's evolutionary. You start with what you have and you see how your values can fit in it. And then If there are values there that do not agree with your values, explain it. Like the Quran, you know the Quran I told you? The words of Fir'aun are in the Quran and you use them in Salah. Okay, so this is the approach. So we should understand this. It's not throwing out things, it's integrating values. Now, this integration in IOK has to be based on each discipline. We go discipline by discipline or sub-discipline by sub-discipline. But to be practical, it has to be by course. You teach a specific course on microeconomics, on educational psychology, look at the outline and see the values there, the paradigms there. See where you need to put Islamic values. Sometimes you discover they don't have to. Yeah, okay? So it must be based on your discipline. Now, the reason why we talk about integration of knowledge is that we have got a dual education system. I am sure most of you didn't go to madrasa as a main education. If I bring people who went only to the madrasa there, and I put you here, and I tell you to discuss, you will not understand one another. Because they have got a different worldview. You've got a more modern, secular worldview. Now, all Muslims in all Muslim countries suffer from this duality. I myself, even up to today, I'm suffering from it. Because when I was young, I went to Quran school. In the afternoon, I went to an English school. So what my sheikh taught me in the morning about falah, success in life, was different from what the Englishman taught in the afternoon. He says, my son, get a degree, get money, become professional. That is successful. The other one told me, you make your salah, you go to Jannah. So, different worldviews. We really, one of our problems, I think we're talking with Maulana about it, is we are not innovative enough. This country has a lot of resources. We could use them much, much better. But innovation, analyzing, it's not enough. And me, I think it's the education system. Because you are between two things. You are between two things. You're confused. It's intellectual schizophrenia. It's a real problem that we have in our societies. So, when we teach in an integrated way, then it works. People understand. Economics is based on scarcity. The human resources are scarce. This is the main concept in Western economics. The Sheikh tells you, Rizqullahi wasa, Allah's rizq is wide. Yarzuq man yashaw bighayri hisab. Allah gives rizq without counting. So, if you're a policy maker, you hear this and you hear this, cannot put them together. So in the end, you just give up thinking about these difficult things. Just do a few routine things and forget about it. So I think the inability of the elite to really solve our problems is because of this dual education system. And when we integrate, inshallah, we can solve this problem. Now we need to prepare for it. As I said, we need to have some seminars. What we are doing today is good. But you need to do more seminars like this, workshops, to discuss the idea more, elaborate it more. I'll tell you, in Bangladesh, I used to go to Bangladesh almost every weekend for 5 years, from the year 2005 to the year 2010, before they started writing books. In those 5 years, we were meeting and discussing and elaborating. It takes time to crystallize the idea. So we need this preparation. And then we can work on planning the book. What I think is, each one of you should write a book for the course you are teaching. If 2 or 3 of you teach a course, cooperate in writing this course. You write 3 chapters, 3 chapters, 3 chapters. Then the book is ready. But I think a book that you people write will be much better than the imported book Now I need to qualify this. At the beginning, it will not be better. To start with, it cannot be perfect. But remember, every year you teach that course again. Or every semester, some of them you repeat in the next semester. So every time, the PowerPoint that you are using in class, that's your book already. That's what you want to turn into. Write it out in full. See what Islamic aspects you can put in, what you can improve, what you can explain. So every semester, it becomes better. After 3 or 4 times, then it's a good book. At the beginning, it will not be good. But also we need peer reviewers. We need people like you who read through. We can also provide outside experts who read through how you prepare your learning objectives, learning outcomes, your sources, how you discuss the epistemology, how you discuss the philosophy of what you are teaching. So it takes time. It's not something that we can do in a hurry. So I think issues about structuring the book and having a process of review, you need to write a chapter and have some other people read it for you, with you. We can provide peer reviewers inside and outside the country. But as I said, it's a process. It takes time, but inshallah, we need to start. So there are several ideas about how to plan the book to get the final product. I will leave this PowerPoint behind so you can read it on your own. I just want to show you a few things. Now, these are books that we did in Bangladesh. Financial accounting, conversion, Islamic approach. So he put in the Islamic values. This is finance. This is financial markets. This is marketing. This is total quality management. This is history of Bengal. This is Arabic, communicative Arabic. Remember, even Arabic, in all Arab countries, the education is semi-secular. So they also need to put in Islamic values. This is about the family, okay? This history, legal theories, value education, Shakespeare, this is it. Actually, we have had a lot of books written about Shakespeare because Shakespeare I tried to shake off Shakespeare's impact on me. I still have the impact because I learned it when I was young. It's still there. It's still there. The ideas are still there, you know. Macbeth, Julius Caesar. I even memorized them. So part of my intellect is affected. So we have a lot of books. People look at Shakespeare and try to present the Islamic perspective. Accounting, creative thinking. These are from Malaysia now. Again, English. Islamic perspectives on 20th century English literature. Remember, literature is very powerful because movies are made from the literature. And young people watch movies. So this is how strong it is. This is worldview, civilization. But each of these books is used to teach a course in the university. Okay? This Islamic values. This is IT from an Islamic perspective. This accounting, sociology and anthropology, English literacy. You see a lot about English literacy studies. It's very important, those of you in English, because those stories and novels eventually become movies. And everybody is watching movies. They are watching plays. So the ideas conveyed there have got a powerful impact. Okay? I'll stop here if there is a question. Then I can show you more books. I'll show books done in Yemen, in East Africa. Yeah. Brother, how can I? Yeah. I want to take this off and show another one. Okay, any question, any comment? So really, people have been able to do this. And I'll show you some more books.
In the back, this question.
Okay, remove this, and I want to open another one.
My name is Nikhil. Talking, integrating knowledge from literature point of view.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we know that literature
Here,
is
here,
for aesthetic pleasure. And in the past, during the Puritan age, when they were trying to, you can say, Christianizing the literature, so they put ban on certain genres, like the drama was banned, and poetry was considered as corrupting the mind. So if we are talking about integrating our Islamization of literature, the aesthetic pleasure is there, but to a great extent, that pleasure is illegitimate from Islamic point of view. So do we need to ban certain genres of literature while integrating it, or we can take it as a whole and we can make it from Islamic perspective?
Yeah. Now, I want to open this folder. You see, also Christians and Jews have been doing what we are talking about. Okay? But you need to understand, they didn't do it very vigorously because they didn't have to. As you know, secularism means separate religion from public life. Already those religions abandoned the field to secularism. So they don't take it seriously. Secondly, what you call secularism is a religion. It doesn't mean secularism is something neutral. No, it's actually religion. It's the ancient Roman and Greek religion. And it has come back. It's controlling the world today. The Roman and Greek philosophy and ideas are predominant. Even things that are very strange. You hear the debate about LGBT and lesbianism, that one. The Romans, these were very common. Homosexuality was very common. Nakedness was very common. In fact, you don't see any Greek statue dressed. Okay? So the modern world today is more like that. And Europe, they actually threw out Christianity. It's now no longer a serious religion there. They marginalized it. So it's not an issue of religion, really. It's an issue of this other religion of secularism, which has got values that may not agree with our values. But we don't need to say Islamization. We don't need to label. No, we don't need to label. We just talk about values as they are. Obedience, respect, love. That's what you want to incorporate in what you are teaching.
Sorry, this is stuck.
It is stuck. Okay, now I want to open. I want to open.
Actually, my click is not working.
Okay, can you open another? Pull this down.
This mouse is not working.
Oh. Okay, is this my computer?
Yeah, this is your.
Oh, so it's stuck. I want to show you some more books, but it's not working. I have got a mouse in my bag. Yes.
So my question is related to, even if we introduce our textbook on the grassroots level of our education system. So you mentioned this knowledge renaissance. Basically, you are building this knowledge renaissance in Pakistani context, right? So can you share the ways we can make that procedure stand out on a global level? Because you know the West, they have, you know, the history of researches that has been done on a particular subject, and they have introduced their integrated knowledge. So in what ways we, in Pakistani context, if we introduce our own textbook and our own integrated knowledge, then in what ways we can, you know, make it stand out on a global level?
Allah Jazak Khair. As I said at the beginning, we are not going to throw away the knowledge that we have now. We only add value to it. But that's the beginning. At the moment, we are not able to think independently. Why? Because of the dual education system. But as we start teaching from integrated books, the next generation will be more innovative, will be more creative. and inshallah we'll be doing research. We'll become producers of knowledge. But at the moment, we cannot be great producers of knowledge. Why? Because we have got this intellectual schizophrenia. We've got two sources of knowledge, and we don't know how to combine them. The book you will write will solve this problem. So the next generation will have people who can think creatively. Yes. Today the West is ahead because they think creatively. They come up with new ideas. Every year there is a new idea. Right now we have got sustainable development goals. Who brought that? They did. After a few years, they will forget it and bring something new. And we'll just parrot. We'll just follow. Why? Because we are not creative. We are not thinking independently. How can we think independently if we have got this schizophrenia in our mind that produces intellectual stagnation? So this is what I'm saying. If we start writing our books, we are starting to solve this problem. It may not work with us here, but in the future, inshallah, we'll have a different people. Now, one last point I want to say about this. Japan, Taiwan, and China and Singapore have developed. You know what they did? They did what we're talking about. The Japanese got all the empirical knowledge available, but then they looked into their own past, their own culture, and added their values to it. It became strong because now the Japanese mind is one whole. It's not confused. In the school, when they teach them, they are not confused because they did integrate. Taiwanese also did integrate. Koreans also did a lot of integration. And China also did a lot of integration. And you see these countries, they are doing research, they are developing new knowledge, they are developing new products. So what we are saying is not strange. This is the way you go. If you continue with this split mind, you cannot do much. You may have a mountain of gold here. Do we have? Yeah, we have mountains here. One of those mountains may all be gold, but you will do nothing with it. Yeah, until we go through this process of integrating our mind. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. More questions? Well, I'm
Yes.
ready.
My question is, can triple IT make arrangement for producing such textbooks on each level, for example, school level, primary level, secondary level, college level, university level, at least in the discipline of social sciences? Can triple IT do this assignment?
No.
Under the great umbrella of triple IT?
No. We can support. Actually, this project, we do support, we do give the financing for it. But you have to do it. We cannot tell you how to do it. You are the subject experts. You know your culture. You know your education system. So we can give support in terms of giving a budget. We pay the author. We pay for editing. We pay for publishing. We pay for looking for resources. We even can pay for research assistants. Just we make a budget, give it to Sheikh, and then we can consider that. But the job is to be done by you. We cannot do it for you.
Your organization is working for Islamization or integration of knowledge, but on the other side there are forces which are working against this objective. In Pakistan, suppose government announced that we will change all our curriculum under the title of national curriculum, single national curriculum. And those who develop the textbooks, they try to incorporate some of the Islamic values. But there are many NGOs who always raise their voice that Islamiyat should be one subject and all other disciplines should be free from values, because natural sciences should be taught as natural science. There should not be any Islamic value incorporated. Even in the textbooks written for primary school students, if a girl picture is given having a scarf on his head, they said this is something wrong, because this is not the culture of all the people living in the country. So you should remove this picture and show without covering the head. So there are forces which are very much active and working against this objective.
Okay, yeah, that is true, but what I want us to do is to start slowly. Like you are in the university. Your university courses are approved by your Senate. Nobody else approves them. So you can start with your courses. Nobody is going to stop you. Secondly, we don't have to use the label Islam. In fact, Islam is to be lived. Islam has values. Telling the truth, being honest, being kind. That's what you want to include there. When we come to natural sciences, the matter is even easier. There are three basic Islamic concepts that we want to integrate. The first one is objectivity, al-istiqama, hidina sirat al-mustaqim, straight path, not there, not there. So, even today, there is a lot of bias in science. You know, a lot of, me, I work in medical research and we are doing drugs. I know drug companies with their money, they do influence the outcome of science. It's not objective. So Islam calls for objectivity. Okay? Nobody will fight with you that you say objectivity, because everybody agrees with it. But objectivity is a Quranic concept in Surah Al-Fatiha. The second one is tawazun, balance. In natural sciences and technology, we need to call for balance, because today the world is not balanced. Nothing is balanced. One time we don't have enough food, so we bring artificial fertilizers, chemicals. They destroy all our soils, all our water. Now we're in another trouble. This always happens. There's no balance. Whenever we do things, we don't see what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages. At tawazun, even me in my medical profession, we don't have balance. Somebody 90 years old, cancer all over his body, but he can talk with his family. He can give them nasiha. He knows he's going. We will come, give him chemotherapy, radiotherapy, put tubes in his mouth, so the last month of his life he cannot talk with his children. Still we not save him. But we are aggressive. See, the issue of balance doesn't exist. So this is a second paradigm. Okay? There is objectivity, there is balance, and then the third one is al-gha'iyya, purposiveness. Science and technology today, we just discover new things. We keep on making new things. I had iPhone 10, they brought 11. You know, just change some shape, then they bring 13, 14. Now they brought iPhone 15. So we are making new and new. Just keep on moving. Nobody stops to ask, where are we going? Nobody knows. But Quran emphasizes that whatever you do, you must have the end in mind. It's called gha'iyya, purposiveness. So if you apply these three only to your natural sciences, just these two, Ask these questions on each aspect you teach in science and technology. You are Islamizing it without even saying Islam. So I think it can be done much more easily. Please, you don't need to use the labels. You need to get the values in there. Okay?
I'm from Prof. University. Being an electrical engineer, I have the same question, how to integrate this Islamic knowledge to science and technology by writing textbooks. Because in engineering we have some known facts and laws, and so how to integrate there?
Okay. As I said, will not take away the existing knowledge, because that's empirical. Islam recognizes two sources of knowledge. Ilm aqli, which is based on human observation, experimentation. Most engineering, most medicine is ilm aqli. Ilm naqli has to do with values, okay? And in some subjects like engineering, ilm aqli is limited, but it's still there. I have told you the three paradigms. You need to think about them. But also you have to think about the ethics. You are producing machines, you are producing technology. What are the ethics of this? What's the impact of this? In 1960, they were developing the oral contraceptive pill. The people who developed it themselves became afraid, because once they got something effective, then they said, in fact, they wanted to go backwards because they realized it's going to change society. Until that time, people were careful, because if you do something wrong, there will be evidence. Once the pill was developed, you can avoid the consequences. Look what happened in the world. There was a sexual revolution. Until today, we are suffering from it. So this is the whole thing. It may be engineering, may be medicine, but you think about the ethics and consequences. This is Islamization. This is values. When you are building a house, it depends on your worldview. Do you make a sitting room for men, one for women, or you make one? Western trained engineer, if you tell him, I need 2 sitting rooms, he will say, are you crazy? Why do you need 2? But in our value systems, it makes sense. So it's a few things like this that we need to include, not everything. Not everything. Maybe in that book of yours, maybe 1 chapter, or half a chapter, a quarter of a chapter, but we need to put in the values. You cannot avoid the values of your religion and your culture. And please don't label them. Don't say Islamic. You don't have to. Yeah.
Last question.
I would like to elaborate a bit in a different way. We are teaching basic sciences, and alhamdulillah, we have engineers, we have doctors, we have social scientists. But we are not comfortable with them. Then what is lacking behind? I mean, we have good doctors, they are competent, we have good engineers, but when we talk about their behaviors, their dealings in the society, so there is something lagging. And what is that? These are values. They are good doctors in terms of their profession, they are good engineers. What is lagging behind? They are values. And if we integrate those values with them, they will be good doctors, which will be, quite good for the society. They will not charge high fee, they will have some human values and human considerations.
Yeah, this is correct. We need to integrate values to get a good citizen. But once we integrate values, this citizen will have integrity, and he will think, he will produce. At the moment, we are not producing. We are just consuming knowledge. We are not producing knowledge. And I think we are incapable of producing a lot of knowledge because of the duality. See, you have schizophrenia. The mind is split between 2 things. If you are taught in an integrated way, you will be a natural person, and you can think, you can solve your problems. Yeah. Now, I had wanted to show you some books.
Please.
Okay, so let me show you this one. This is a book on geography written in Tanzania. Okay, physical, atmosphere. Most of it's a geography book. Actually, it's only a few places does he put in Islamic values. Okay, a few places, but it's just a normal geography book. And if you give it to a Christian, he will read it and use it, benefit from it. He may not even notice that he has read Islamic values there, but he puts in Islamic values. Something like, the climate and its changes, lack of balance, all this air pollution, global warming. There is lack of balance in how we do things. Technology has gone too far in one direction and forgot something. That's what he writes there. At-tawazun, that's an Islamic value. So this is what we are talking about. Now I will show you some books from Yemen. These are in Arabic. Okay. This is a book on general rules about crime and punishments in the Islamic fiqh and the secular law. So everything on this in the secular law is in this book. But also he gives the Islamic approach to it. And what happens, because the Islamic approach a lot of times is very rational, people really like it. Yeah. Can you imagine the law of inheritance? Law of inheritance. In America, it's volumes and volumes. In Islam, there is only one verse. One, but very long verse. That verse tells you who are all the inheritors, how much they get, and how much does the share of one changes if the other is not there. One verse. So that's why in Harvard University, they put a placard at the gate of the university about Sharia, because they just said this one verse regulates everything. And we've got volumes and volumes and volumes. So putting together two things is enough for the student to start understanding the greatness of Islam. I'll show you. Oh, I lost it. Yes, I'll show you a few more, because I want you to see that it's doable and people have done it. Okay, I'll show you some more. Okay. Yeah, I'll show you some, I'll show you recent Malaysian books. By the way, we are doing many books in Indonesia, Malaysia, East Africa. Now I'm going to start doing in the Balkans, because people realize they have got Islamic universities, but they teach exactly like those other universities. So they say it's an Islamic university, but only at the gate they write Islamic university. Once you go in, same as the others. So it has to be what you teach and how we teach it. So, okay, this is an analytic study on Quranic discourse. This is a course. The link doesn't work. This is Introduction to Modern Islamic Literature. We have a lot of focus on literature because we realize it's very important. Most of what shapes the mind is the literature. Fundamentals of Islamic Aqidah. Again, this one, we know Aqidah from Quran and Sunnah. But then there are things that from Aql, trying to apply them to our life. This morning I was talking about Ihsan. Ihsan is the highest of the three fundamentals of our religion. That is Islam, Iman, Ihsan is the highest. Ihsan means excellence. So I was telling them, our Aqidah calls upon us to have quality in what we do. So when you write a book of Aqidah, you apply it to normal life. Pharmaceuticals, management, ethics. Anyway, you get the idea. People are doing many books, and it's doable. It's possible. But you need to start. And you need to set up a system. You cannot be alone. We can provide the funding, but you need to have people to review, to discuss with. You need to put ideas together, inshallah. And please avoid this word Islamization. Avoid the Islamic label. You just want the values to go in there, and that's it. Once the values are there, the future students will be integrated in their mind, and they will be productive, and they will change the country, inshallah.
Can these books be provided as a sample? We should read those, some modern books, that we can proceed just like those books.
Yeah, we can get them, although it's a little bit complicated, because we no longer publish paper books. We do them electronic.
Electronic copies sufficient.
So you have to go to the website. You have to go to the Bangladesh website, Malaysia website, East African website to find them. Yemen also now Yemen this year we are going to make 74 books. Yeah, in 1 year. Last year we did 24. No, last year we did 24. This year we're going to do 50. Total of 74. And next year maybe more books. So it is doable. But you write a book for your course. At the beginning, as I told you, it will not be perfect. Al-kamal lillah. Perfection is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't expect a perfect product. But because you use it every semester, students ask questions. You realize, oh, that is not clear. Go and improve. Your peers read, say, oh, no, this you did not do it well. You keep improving. With time, they'll become perfect, inshallah. But then we shall be proud that we are teaching using material we wrote ourselves. Because we are Pakistanis, we can write. Why do we use books written by other people? And some of them, we studied with them in America or Europe, we are cleverer than them in class. But they write, we don't write. What's the problem? Yeah.
So, a question related to this one. So, one thing I want to ask you about that.
Louder, please. Louder.
So, I would like to ask you about what you have said right now about the initial process of putting knowledge, right, and putting Islamic knowledge into our areas of education. I would like to ask you, would it not be better, like for example, we make an institution where all these people, they gather, like we have great minds. We have International Islamic University in each and every country here right now, in Islamic country. In Medina we have, Malaysia, here in Pakistan we have one, and we have great doctors there. Why don't we give these talks to them that they make these things and changes into those books, and they can hire those people like OUP, CUP, these people they are hiring, and they are producing something which is not subjective. Since we can do something, it's of course subjective, sometimes our own personalities, they can come into that. So what do you think about that? If we institutionalize that thing in a bigger way, having these people in that institution and giving those ideas to the people all around over the Islamic world, I think that would be quite beneficial. Is my suggestion.
Well, it's an idea. Maybe Maulana can also give his view about that.
You can think it out.
Yeah.
Think further, inshallah.
Possible, inshallah. Yeah. It's possible.
Jazakallah khair.
Okay. Is this one or that one? Eh?
It's yours. I can
And but then all of this is there. Did you copy this computer into that one?
I'll check. I'll just check.
No, just make sure.
Yeah, sure.
Because I have confidential material on this. Did you copy the desktop onto that one? No, it's not the presentation. The whole is there.
Yeah, this is the recording, the live.
Come here, come here.
The presentation copy.
No, this is
These,
video.
these are my folders, all of them. You have them on that computer.
Because it's live broadcast from here to there.
And
So
asking
it's just the
important
screen,
questions.
nothing
And
else.
hopefully, inshallah, we
No,
are
it's not
better
usable.
placed, from
Cannot be used, sir.
place where we started. And inshallah, we have started a
Prof?
dialogue today.
No,
And,
it's not gonna work.
Hopefully, we'll continue having these sessions,
Prof?
Workshops and trainings.
It's
I
not gonna
understand
work. It's
that
just
all of your
screen
questions
share.
would have been answered. Or you might
It's
have
not
other
gonna work.
questions that you even didn't ask. So, but we'll inshallah try to arrange more sessions. And if
I
you want
understand.
any materials, so presentation.